Hey folks, welcome to the final lesson on major scale pathways. I'm going to give you the last pocket that we're going to discuss here and then integrate this with everything we've learned so far. After that, we can kind of visualize the fretboard up and down the neck and use the single string method of playing a scale to transition between these positions. And then we'll explore playing a simple melody in each one of these pockets and develop a sense of which one might suit the melody best and when to transition between different areas of the neck. So we've stuck in G major to learn these pockets, and now we just covered the one with the root note on the fifth string, and our final one is going to be a closed position using that sixth string again as the root note. And you'll notice that this looks very familiar. It's pretty much the same thing we use down at the nut here, with the exception of that note, the seventh degree of the scale. So we're going to go up to the 12th fret, and that's a G note on the sixth string. Now instead of going up 2 frets like we would have in our pattern before, we jump a string and we go behind the 12th fret there, just on the 11th fret, to finish that pocket. And we can keep ascending. And now once we've got up to the first string, we're kind of into that single string idea, finishing up way up on the 17th fret. We can descend from there. Okay, let's put that in a different key. How about, I don't know, D flat. Let's go to the 6th fret. How about some alternate picking? Thumb, index, thumb, index. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, there you have it. There's that pocket of notes. Very similar to what we've already covered. We just don't have the benefit of open strings, but once we've closed that position up like we just have now, we can move that around to different areas of the fretboard a lot easier as well. And another thing you should note here is, because we've gotten up to that 12th fret, that's an octave, now these patterns just repeat. So the other pockets that we developed in lesson 2, how we got up to that 5th fret, first string, and had some other options starting on the 4th string. The same would apply because we're up an octave, right? So as we've gotten up to that 17th fret, we have some other pockets that we can use. Pretty hard to get your intonation and tone and everything dialed in way up at the top of the neck there, but just in conceptual theory, if this fretboard extended, past the nut and into infinity to the right, that pattern of where those pockets are, the space between them, would hold constant, and that pattern would just repeat as you keep going further and further along the strings. So hopefully that makes conceptual sense, and as you're moving to different keys, then you'll notice that the space in between those patterns is held constant. Okay, one final scale to cover here is the single string scale. We've talked about this in other lessons before, but you can think of scales as ascending and descending the strings this way, or moving along the strings this way. And often you're combining both of those things, but let's just stick to one single string here. So for G major, we start on the 5th fret. I've written down each of the intervals there. You'll notice that we've used portions of this in some of our pockets. And let's bring it all the way back now to where we started in the first lesson. I put this diagram up showing all the pockets along the fretboard in G major across basically our entire fretboard, at least up to our final pocket that we just covered, ending up on the 17th fret way up here. I've color coded them, and so you can visualize where they lie, and there's some overlapping notes, so they may look slightly different from what we've seen, but generally tried to overlay them here. And that would be how you navigate the fretboard. I've also put the intervals, labeled them for the single string scale on the first string. So the concept here, some players do play up and down vertically the fretboard quite a bit. I tend to follow these pathways. By using the single string often to move between them. And often as I get up the neck, I'm staying, unless I'm playing a chord arpeggio and using those lower strings. If I'm playing straight melody, I'm often sticking to the top 3 or 4 strings and not worrying too much about the strings way down low, 5 and 6. Mostly for tonal reasons. There's some other kind of phrases using those strings that I might do, but if I'm just straight improvising, I'm often using that the strings 1 through 4 and connecting these pockets. And then down. And then down by the nut, I'm using those hammer-ons and pull-offs and creating these kind of pathways. That's also a feature of players like Jerry Douglas. In Stacy Phillips' Instructional Material, he talks a lot about how he tends to use the fretboard more in a vertical way, up and down the strings and changing strings a lot to get phrases, kind of more like a guitar player would. Jerry will use this single string legato sort of techniques to shift positions. And so as you're transcribing and listening to dobro players, pay attention to the tonal characteristics. That can give you a clue as to what string they might be on and what they may have changed to. And also, listen for sliding. That'll indicate that they've stayed on whatever string that they're on. And they're often sliding between these positions. So let me demonstrate moving up and down the neck through these positions in just sort of a free-flowing kind of way. As a final demonstration of how to practice these pockets and start to integrate them into your thinking around the fretboard, let's take a simple melody and explore playing it in each one of those pockets. And then sort of make some determinations about where it sounds best for tone, where it allows you the most expression, and then start to, kind of make an arrangement or make some choices around where you play portions of that melody on the neck. How about Summer Wages? Great old classic Ian Tyson tune, made famous in the bluegrass world by J.D. Crowe and the New South, with Tony Rice playing and singing on it back on Rounder 44. So let's start with our first pocket down by the nut. We're going to stay in G just because that'll keep our thinking sort of consistent with what we've learned as our first key center. Down here, it might go something like this. Okay, so we've got the benefit of all those open strings that we can pull off onto in that pocket. Now let's explore the pockets we learned in lesson 2, starting on our 4th string. Okay, so for me, just for that melody, it gives me a little more expressive options to work behind that root note rather than moving upwards. But we can combine some of those ideas. So that might work. Might help to resolve sliding up into that note. Get experimental, see what kind of makes sense for you in that area of the neck. Okay, moving along, we're going to be anchored on our 5th string now, using that pockets between kind of fret 7 and 9 here. Something like that. Right, so I can use a combination of that pocket there and the single string stuff that we've worked on before and really get expressive up in that sort of area of the neck. And finally, up by the 12th fret. Not the greatest for tone way down there. So we could, improve that situation by just using those top 3 strings. Well, that about wraps it up, folks. We've covered pretty much every position up and down the fretboard for our major scales, every kind of pathway we might want to learn. There's, of course, some extensions of this, some more notes around them that you can add, but that'll give you a really good foundation of linking these positions together and some concepts around using that single string to slide between them, and finding where the best tone and expression lies for each phrase that you're trying to construct a solo out of, or when you're improvising up and down the neck. I hope this has been useful for you. As you go forward with your dobro playing, I hope this gives you a template and an understanding of where those positions are. And then as you start introducing yourself to new scales, new kind of notes and textures like the blues scale or pentatonic scales, I hope you can relate them back to where these major scale pathways are, because it's the building blocks of all the music that we do within these genres. Thanks so much for taking a look at these videos. Again, I hope they're helpful. If you're interested in more dobro stuff like this, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're on there, and check out my other lessons on Patreon, where we do transcriptions of tunes and some other technique videos.